Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everyone. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Qintara Auliya Faradisa with student ID number 098 from Agribisnis study program. Now, this video, I meant to fulfill my final semester exam assignment for Sharia Business Economic course with a tutor Mrs. Novidiana Badru Tamami. Here, I will explain the differences between several types of contract using diagrams. The contract in question are murabahah, asalam, istisna, qard, ran, and wadi'ah contract. The first discussion, which is about the murabahah contract. Murabahah contract is a type of sale and pure cash transaction by confirming the pure cash price and profit margin to the buyer. This profit is obtained by agreement between the buyer and seller. An example of Sharia financing based on a murabahah contract is when a friend make a motor vehicle transaction at an institution or financing company. This transaction positions the finance company as the seller and you as the buyer. Previously, finance company bought vehicle units from dealers and resell them to consumer by adding a certain margin. The following is the flow of the murabahah contract. The buyer submits an application for the procurement of goods. Then the seller makes observation regarding the feasibility of the buyer. If the buyer's request is accepted, the seller will buy the goods from the supplier. Then the supplier sends the goods directly to the seller. The seller makes a credit sale and pure cash transaction with the buyer. After the goods are shipped, the buyer is obligated to pay installment to the seller in accordance with the time he has set. The seller benefits from the difference between the pure cash price from the supplier and the selling price to the buyer. Enter into the second discussion, namely regarding the contract as-salam. Salam contract is a term in Islamic Sharia finance and refers to a sale and pure cash transaction where the goods being traded are not at the place of transaction. But by paying for it in advance, the buyer will get the goods sometime later. An example of a salam contract is the following scenario. You as buyer order 115-watt souvenirs to be sent in 3 days. This fulfills the definition of a salam contract, which is a sale and pure cash contract which, even though the sale and pure cash transaction has not yet appeared in its form, but as a buyer, you will get it at a later date. In this case, you get it in 3 days. The following is the flow of the as-salam contract. The buyer placed an order with the specification of the desired item in terms of shape, size, material, and so on. The buyer negotiates, accompanied by a greeting agreement with the seller to find an agreement. Buyers make payment for order in advance after finding an agreement between both parties to the transaction. The seller produces according to the order from the buyer. The seller sends the order production goods to the buyer according to the agreed date in advance. Into the third discussion, namely about istisna. The definition of istisna is the sale and pure cash of goods in the form of an order for the manufacture of goods with certain agreed criteria and condition with payment in accordance with the agreement. The following is the flow of the istisna contract, namely the customer or buyer orders goods according to specification to the bank. When agreed, the bank orders the goods from the manufacturer. While the goods are made, the customer pays money to the bank by paying in advance, in installments, or at the end. When the goods are finished, the goods are sent directly to the consumer. Enter in the fourth discussion, namely regarding the qard contract. Qard is a loan agreement that must be returned in the same amount at the agreed time. Technically, this loan is given by a person or Islamic financial institution to another person, which is then used for urgent needs. Payment can be made in installment or in full at once. The following is the flow of the qard contract, namely, the financier or mukrid and the borrower or muqtarid enter into an all-qard contract for business activity until the borrower or muqtarid returns the amount of capital lent without compensation or additional return value to the investor. The financier and the borrower enter into an all-court contract for business activities, where the financier provides capital loans for business activities, and the borrower manages the capital for business activities. Profit obtained from business activities are included in capital which will be returned by investor according to the amount of capital lent without compensation or additional return value. Loans are not required to be returned if the borrower experiences a natural disaster, bankruptcy, and death. Enter the fifth discussion, namely regarding the run contract. Run is meant to hold the property of the borrower as collateral for the loan he received. The party who holds it obtains a guarantee to take back all or part of the debt. With this agreement, Pegadaian holds movable goods as collateral for the customer's debt. The following is the flow of the run contract, namely, the customer pledges the goods to the bank, then the bank assesses the pawned goods to determine the amount of financing that can be obtained by customer. The customer then gets financing according to the agreement. The run contract has been used as an alternative to conventional pawn shops. The difference with ordinary pawns is that in run the customer is not charged. But what is collected from the customer is the cost of care, maintenance, care, and appraisal fees, which is collected and determined at the beginning of the agreement. Meanwhile, in an ordinary pawn agreement, the customer is also charged with loan interest, which can be accumulated and multiplied. Enter in the sixth discussion, namely regarding the wadi'ah contract. In Islamic economics, wadi'ah is a customer deposit that must be maintained and returned whenever the customer wants it. Wadi'ah is divided into two types, namely wadi'ah yad amanah and wadi'ah yad damanah. Wadi'ah yad amanah is goods. Their deposit in no way can be used by the party receiving the deposit. While wadi'ah yad damanah is a deposit of goods that can be used or utilized by the recipient of the deposit. The following is the flow of the wadi'ah yad amanah contract, namely, the custodian will provide the goods to be deposited. However, as a service for storage, the custodian pays. This usually happens in Islamic bank or on safe deposit box product. The following is the flow of the wadi'ah yad damanah contract, namely the goods deposits are rotated by the bank in a business, which then from the business generates profits that are intended specifically for the bank. The bank's decision to give a bonus or not depends on the bank's own policy. Okay guys, that is my presentation about the different types of contract using diagrams. More or less, I apologize and I hope it will be useful. Thank you for clicking this video and wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.